I really enjoy working on pressurized septic systems, and today we were asked to see if we can make a repair on a system that hadn't been working for almost 2 years. They had been using the system in manual operation, not by turning it over to hand on the switch, but by actually holding down the contactor, which basically forces power to the pump. Whenever I'm working on a system that I haven't worked on previously, I always like to learn a little bit more about it and how it's laid out. So the first thing that I'll do is take off the lids and take a look at the layout of the pump and the floats and just understand what's going on with it all. I like to also make a visual inspection to make sure that there's not any toilet paper or waste building up on the floats and holding them in the wrong position. Then I will go over to the control box and get out my voltmeter and further troubleshooting. I like to look for obvious problems like toilet paper and waste building up on floats and holding them in the wrong position. The first thing I like to start with is checking each of the floats for the proper continuity. So before just checking it with my meter, I always disconnect one side of the float to make sure that I'm not reading a continuity through another component in the control box, which can happen. So in this particular box, there is 4 terminals that go to one side of each float, and then the 5th terminal is a common between all of the 4 floats. So I just simply disconnected the common side, and immediately when I did that, you can see in the video that the contactor pulled down right away. So this tells me that most likely it was the low level alarm that was going off. The purpose of a low level alarm is to completely shut the system down because it's assuming that there's a float stuck in the on position and the pump is running. So the water level is actually getting too low, and the low level alarm is trying to prevent damage to the pump. Although I had a pretty good assumption that it was the low level alarm, I still wanted to make sure that all the other floats were okay. So I had one of our other guys lift up each of the floats while I checked the continuity, making sure that they were working. And sure enough, when I got to the low level alarm, it was in the up position and the contact was closed, which in the up position, it should normally be open. We did not have a float with us at the time, so what I did was disconnect the low level alarm and put the system back in operation. Now this was a short-term solution because there's definitely a purpose of having the low level alarm to protect the pump from running dry. Now I tested the other floats and everything is working okay, and we'll be returning in the next day or two to pull the float tree out and install a new float. I know this video may not be that interesting visually, but I hope that one of you enjoys understanding and learning more about the process of troubleshooting a system like this.